What's going on, guys? Justin Fuller, ex-Honda salesman, tech lover, and today your host. And we're going to be reviewing the brand new 2025 Honda Civic Hybrid. Is it worth the money, and how does it stack up against other makes and models? We're going to figure out all that and more, so let's hop on in. So this thing is $32,845. Let's start at the front of this car and work our way back. So at the front of this car, you have a 2-liter hybrid engine putting out 200 horsepower. So to throw a comparison up so you can see, how does the 200 horsepower in this vehicle stack up against other makes and models out in the world? While that's up, I'll just remind you, if you move to the non-hybrid version, you'd be looking at roughly 150 horsepower. Or if you wanted to jump to its big sister, the Accord Hybrid, you'd be looking at roughly 204 horsepower. Or if you went to the Civic Si, you'd be right in that same category too. So a lot of different options when it comes to horsepower. Now, as far as MPGs goes, this car gets 50 in the city and 47 on the highway. So I want to throw a comparison up so you can see, how does the 50 in the city and 47 on the highway stack up against other makes and models? While that's up, I'll just remind you, you could go down to a non-hybrid Civic and be looking at 31 in the city and roughly 39 on the highway. Or you could jump over to the sister Accord Hybrid and get that 46 in the city and roughly 41 on the highway. So now when it comes to front row leg space, I am sitting in this car and I've got 42.3 inches of front row leg space in this car. It's quite a bit. So if I had been 6'2", 6'3", I'm 6 foot 250, I would have plenty of space. But I want to throw a comparison up so you can see, how does the 42.3 stack up against other makes and models out in the world? With that, I'll just remind you, even if you jumped over to like an Accord Hybrid, the exact same leg space in this vehicle versus that one, so wouldn't make it different when it comes to that category. Now, next I'm going to talk to you about the second row and leg space. So in the second row of this car, you've got 37.4 inches of leg space. I want to throw a comparison up so you can see, how does that stack up against other makes and models out there in the world? You could look at a non-hybrid Civic and it wouldn't make a difference. You still get that 37.4, or go back a generation to the 2024 and get the same. But if you went to the Accord Hybrid, this is where it's a little bit different. You get 40.8 inches of leg space in the back of the car. So roughly 3 inches and some change. So understand, if you're looking at the Accord Hybrid and the Civic Hybrid, there is a difference when it comes to the second row. The head space and the lack of air vents is something I kind of wish you had a little bit more of, or had altogether, because you don't have air vents in the second row of this vehicle. Now, when you jump into the cargo space of this vehicle, you're then looking at 14.8 cubic feet of cargo space. It's usable. It's easy to take advantage of. If you need to throw some bags back there, you're an active person, you got kiddos, you got a stroller, all of that will fit in the back of this car. Now, in the Sport Touring Hybrid, you do have a 60-40 split, so you can throw those seats down, so you can take advantage of that as well. Now, I want to throw a comparison up so you can see, how does the 14.8 cubic feet stack up against other makes and models out in the world? While that's up, I'll of course remind you, non-hybrid is going to be the exact same. And then if you went up to the Accord Hybrid, the big sister of this vehicle, you'd be looking at roughly, I believe, 16.7 cubic feet. So you get an extra couple cubic feet in the vehicle. Now, I want to talk to you about 0 to 60 times. This car goes from 0 to 60 in 6.2 seconds. I took it out on the road in a full review, and it goes. So if you want to take off and you want to go, this little hybrid has got some go juice. So I want to throw a comparison up so you can see, how does it stack up against other makes and models out there in the world? While that's up, I'll of course remind you of a couple things. If you went to the Accord Hybrid, 6.5 seconds, right? So a little bit more, a little bit bigger, a little bit heavier, makes sense. If you went to the standard Accord, you'd be looking at 7.3 seconds. And if you went to the standard Civic, non-hybrid, you'd be looking at roughly 9.2 seconds. So this car actually has a pretty darn good 0 to 60 time. So something to keep in mind if that's important to you. Now, ground clearance. This car is not listed with a ground clearance right now, but if I look at the previous generation, it's 5 inches of ground clearance. So I'm going to throw that up on the screen so you can see, how does the 5 inches of ground clearance stack up against other makes and models out in the world. Now, I will say that's not an official distance that they've given me yet, but I'm going to assume that it's going to be roughly the same so that we have something to compare it to. All right, guys, so before we get out of here, I want to ask you for a couple favors. One, I hope you'll press the like button because you like the way I present the content. It'll help push this video up in the search. 2, I hope you subscribe to the channel so when I produce videos like this, you will receive them. 3, I hope you share it. If you got some friends who are shopping specifically hybrids, or the Civic Hybrid, the Accord Hybrid, maybe this is something they'll be interested in. And then understand, if you're looking for a little bit longer form video that goes through a little bit more detail, explains touchscreens and leather and what doesn't have leather and what has powered seats and what doesn't, know that I make videos like that as well. Please do check them out. Other than that, like, comment, subscribe, all the things. Later, guys!